Hello there, I'm Jamie Vegas and this is how to make an RPG in Unity, and welcome to episode 44. In this tutorial we're going to work with our skeleton and we're going to make him, after the cutscene that we have, we're going to make him come walking over to us ready to attack us. Don't forget, click the subscribe button and click the bell icon as well. Stay up to date with every tutorial still to come in this series and everything else about game development on my channel. With that in mind, let's get to work. So, up until this point, remember, we have the cutscene when we come through here, and it kind of pans around and looks at our skeleton. So, much in the same way as we have used with our spiders previously, we're going to need to apply Navmesh to this particular area for our skeleton to walk around. Now, the problem we also have here is that when we play the cutscene, it is automatically going to kind of be able to switch from the standard skeleton to a moving skeleton. And we can either do this one of two ways. We can either have this as a dummy skeleton, so a fake one that isn't the one we attack, or we can have it so the script on the camera, the little cutscene, activates the AI on the skeleton after it's played. So I'm going to go with that second option, but if you want to go with the first option, I'll explain a little more how that would be done. That is kind of like a quick and easy, but not necessarily best option to go for. So either way, let's do what we need to do here. So this is going to be our area where we fight, and we need to go to our navigation here, and we need to click on Bake. So remember, if you don't have your navigation, you go to Window, AI and Navigation, and it will bring it up here. And we don't really need to mess around too much with it. I guess we can play around with the edges, maybe a little bit, I guess. I think it just depends where we need to really look at. I mean, for example, I have this area here, it kind of goes outside the boundaries. So I'll probably need to take a couple of these walls and just put them as non-walkable, because obviously if we don't, it will mean that our skeleton will go straight through the wall if he ever decides to walk that way. So let's take these, go to Object and Navigation Static and Not Walkable, and let's bake that in. There we go, so we can't walk that way. Same applies with these over here. I'm probably not going to do all of these because I don't want to waste too much time on this, but you get the general idea of what you should be doing here. I think we've done it on a couple of other tutorials, haven't we? I'm sure we've done that in other tutorials. So I'm just going to leave that for now. You guys just make sure you finish that up. You go all the way around the edge of your arena, just making sure that the skeleton can't walk through, because a good example would be if we start our cutscene here and walk back a bit, our skeleton would end up coming through this wall. But now he won't, because we've said it is not walkable. Now, the way we're going to do this is kind of a little, not cheating, but we maybe should have renamed our script something a little different earlier in the series, because we created a script which was specific to our spider, which kind of used the navigation, and we can reuse that for our skeleton. So if we go to our scripts folder, and I believe it's AI scripts, and I think it's this one. No, not that one. It's this one, Spider Boss AI. Now, we called it Spider Boss AI because we were specifically referencing the big spider. But theoretically, we can use it on this skeleton himself. I guess it doesn't really matter about the naming convention as long as you know what it refers to, but in hindsight, we really should have renamed it something different. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach a cube to our skeleton right here. And that is going to basically be what contains the nav mesh. So it's something similar to what we did with the spider. So right click on the skeleton and let's go to 3D object and let's go to cube. Obviously that cube is way too big, so I'm just going to change the size. So we'll change it to 1, 1, 1. Let's probably reset the rotation to 0. So it's just basically a cube. So now let's expand this to basically fit around our skeleton. So I think it's going to be roughly about 3 by 3. Seems to be about right. So let's do that by about, that looks like it is probably about perfect. So that basically encompasses all of our skeleton, which is good enough. So I'm going to right click, rename, and let's call this Skeleton Boss. And then basically just drag and drop the skeleton within there. So at the moment, the skeleton is just going to play his animation. Let's turn off the mesh renderer on that cube so we can see through it. Now, I know we've done this a little bit before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about what we're doing here because, like I say, we went through it with the spiders. But we need to add the Navmesh component. Make sure we do this on the skeleton boss cube, remember. So Navmesh agent. And you might need to change the surroundings. You can see it does fit pretty well, I think. So it fits perfect. So I'm not going to play around with any of that. I don't need to change the radius or height or anything. So what do we do next? Well, the skeleton boss itself, I'm going to attach that spider boss AI script. And yes, I know it's a spider. Like I said before, we should have named it something different. But the destination is going to be the FPS controller. So if we press play now, we're going to have the problem of he's constantly going to be trying to come towards us, no matter where we are in the scene. So if I go to the scene view now, he's not doing it. Why are you not doing it? You've actually confused me. Okay. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's press play and let's go over to him because logically he should be doing it. So let's just double check we've not got any errors here. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to jump over that trapdoor trigger. And there we go. So there's our cutscene. Now you can see he has actually moved now, so which is good. That's good for us. And yeah, there he is. So he's no matter where we are, he's trying to come towards us. So we need to deal with that in a different way. And do you know what I might actually do? I think I'm going to change the lighting a little bit because I feel it's a bit dark and I kind of need to see a bit better. So it's not going to look fantastic the next time we test this. So now we know the skeleton does walk around the nav mesh. We need to basically only turn it on when we have seen that little cutscene. So we need to go to that component, the Spider Boss AI, and turn it off. So untick. So he'll just basically stand there, waving his sword around in his idle position. And we need to go to the script, which allows us to start the cutscene, which is that cut trig right there. So let's go into that cutscene trigger. And all we're basically going to do here is reference that skeleton to say, yep, we viewed the cutscene. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn on your AI. So as soon as the Visual Studio loads, let's add the skeleton as a variable. So public game object, and if I can spell skeleton right, skeleton object. Because remember, it's the cube that we're dealing with here, not the skeleton himself. So after all of this, we've got fade screen out, and we wait for 2 seconds and then turn everything off. What I'll do is just before we turn the fade out off, I'm going to say skeleton object dot get component. In spiky brackets, it's called the Spider Boss AI, which is that script. Dot enabled equals true, semicolon, and save. Now we're going to come back to this and modify it again, but we just need to test that this actually works. It's always good to test whenever you've done something a little different. So fingers crossed now. Everything should work a little better. So I'm hoping that I don't keep falling like I did last time. So when we get to our cutscene, we should be able to see the cutscene in motion with the skeleton still there. So far, so good. And now, when the cutscene has ended, he should be moving towards us, but not walking. Oh, of course not, because we didn't set him there, did we? So let's quickly add him in. So remember, it's the skeleton boss, not the skeleton himself, because that AI script is on that skeleton boss, which is the cube, remember. And what I'll do is I'll also keep this active so we can see down here in the inspector the little tick that will appear in that box whenever we get close enough to the skeleton. Even I'm referring to it as a spider. So let's cheat and jump over there. Let's cheat and go along here and jump down, just to speed things up a bit. So there we go. All good. So we should see that tick appear. There we go. And he's now walking towards us. Now, you'll notice that the actual skeleton himself is sliding towards us at an angle on his side. So we are going to need to change that. So what we'll do is, while we're still in the game view, we will edit this and change it to 0. And it does indeed make the difference. So the reason he's coming to us sideways is basically because the cube itself is set as 0, but the skeleton inside is set as -90 rotation. And you can see that is the case. So what we'll do is, on the cube now, we will rotate that at -90. And next thing we'll do is we'll start working with his animations. So on the skeleton himself, let's go into the controller. So double click in there and we can see the only animation we've got is that idle one that we created. So all we're going to do here is we're going to create, or rather duplicate, a couple of those animations that we need. So the first one is going to be attack, because we need him to attack. So let's go into that, hold Control, press D on the attack. And we don't need it looping, so that is perfectly fine without a tick. So let's drag that into our animator over here. Next, we need a walking one, which is going to be somewhere. There we are, walk. So we'll take that animation, hold Control, press D, and bring it into the animator. And I think that might do for now. What else do we have? Oh, we need a death one, don't we? So obviously we need to kill him at some point. So we'll take that animation, hold Control, press D, and bring that in there as well. Now, the only one which we'll probably need a loop on is going to be the walk animation. So let's go to the walk animation and tick loop time. Head back to the scene. And now what I want to do is, in that same script, let's hope this works as intended. We want to say skeleton object.getComponent. So the spider boss, we want skeleton object dot get component, and in spiky brackets animator, open close bracket dot play, and in brackets and quotes it's just going to be walk with a capital W. Obviously, if you've used a different model, your animation name may be a little different. So let's save that script and let's test this out. Hopefully this should work as intended. So we'll do the same thing again. We'll kind of rush through. Jump over that. And we should be able to see at this present moment, if we stand up here, our skeleton kind of waiting for us. So this is probably considered maybe a bug or a glitch. So we'll sort this out at some point as well, just so as it doesn't seem ridiculous. So far so good. Our skeleton is there. And now he should be walking towards us. Oh. Okay, so what's it saying? There is no animator. Oh, of course, we need a separate one, don't we? So skeleton object, because the animator is on the skeleton, not the skeleton object. Rookie mistake, Jimmy. So we'll have that as skeleton boss. So instead of skeleton object, it's going to be skeleton boss, save, and then we'll just quickly add that to the variable box on the cutscene trig. Skeleton, there he goes. I'm going to save that, press play, and now I'm going to run. I'm going to rush all the way there just so we can see this in action. Fingers crossed. You'll probably come across this a lot. Little things that you just forget. You're too focused on the bigger picture and sometimes forget the little things, but never mind. So, again, so far so good. The skeleton is ready to get us. And he should come walking over to us now. And here he comes. Awesome. So, much like we've done with the spider, we need to code some extra things to him in the next tutorial. So I'm happy with what we've made progress-wise here. I'm very happy indeed. So while I talk about the next tutorial, I'm also quickly going to carry on what I was doing first by doing all this Navmesh. So next tutorial, what I think we're going to do is we are going to get deep into the details of actually being able to have a battle with our skeleton here. So I think we're going to apply some AI to him to allow him to attack us when we get too near. So rather than just kind of keep walking at us like a big silly skeleton, he'll actually attack, swing his sword at us whenever we're too near. Also, with that, we are going to be able to attack him. Again, much in the same way we did with the spider. A couple of things are going to be different. And I also want to have a big hoo-ha, like a door opening kind of cutscene as well, when we finally kill the skeleton himself. So, until that next tutorial, guys, thank you very much for watching.